Welcome back to our fourth session in our 7 sessions program of marriage coaching. In the first 3 sessions, we talked about an introduction and biblical foundations in a sacred marriage. Second session, we talked about falling in love for all the right reasons. And in the third session, we talked about expectations, assumptions, and understanding gender differences and different sexual responses. And in our fourth session today, we are going to talk about understanding the 5 love languages. We are going to address now some of the ideas that we learned from the well-known book by Dr. Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages. This is a great resource for any couple to be able to understand each other's love languages and to express to your future wife or future husband or current wife or husband your love language that would make you feel loved. This topic today makes it very clear to every couple, and even for those who are considering getting married, how much investing time in preparing is of great importance to their happiness and to a successful marriage. Love is our topic today, which is a very important one, but it could be very confusing as we use it in thousands of meanings. Could be loving food, could be loving a car, could be loving your mother, and so on. And it could be a romantic and intimate love. Now today we are going to talk mainly about love as in love in marriage. First, let me focus on the experience of falling in love. You ask a couple to explain what falling in love means, and one of them would give you the answer, well, you know, and there is no complete to this answer. Or another one would say, you will know it when you really fall in love. Either way, this doesn't explain much about what falling in love means. Everyone assumes that getting married is after falling in love, but very few people that would tell you what this falling in love really means. I'll tell you a little hint about what falling in love means. It does start with feeling. It starts with those feelings that make you look, talk, and interact with the other person. In fact, it is those feelings that make you want to spend more time with the other person. And at this point, you move from the point of falling or feelings to the stage of becoming obsessed with this person, that you start not seeing any negative in this person. One of the things about falling in love is that it makes us blind to see any weakness in the person we fall in love with. If we make an experiment separating each couple and ask each one of them to make a list of what the good things in the other person are, each one might come up with a long list. If you ask them to make another list of weaknesses in each other, they might come up with 1 or 2 or maybe even nothing. If you can't find anything weak in the other person, you are not ready to get married. We are all made of lists of strengths and weaknesses, and we need to see those as a sign of maturity. As much as falling in love is a wonderful experience, it is not an adequate foundation to build marriage, as it is very temporary in nature. A study about the lifespan of falling in love state found that the average lifespan for the state of falling in love is about 2 years, 2 years max. The state of love is what could lead to and become a solid foundation for a successful marriage. First, I want to read this statement for you. What makes one person feel loved does not make another person feel loved. We can be very sincere in expressing love, but it may not be in the language the other person understands. This brings us to what Dr. Chapman called the 5 love languages. So I'll share with you this today. And number 1 will be words of affirmation. Using words of affirmation, to the other person, telling the other person what you like and appreciate about him or her, words focusing on the way they look, things they do, things they talked about, positive words to praise and affirm. The second love language is giving and receiving gifts. It's a very universal thing to give gifts as an expression of love. Expensive or not expensive, that's not the issue. The fact that you were thinking of the other person is what's important. If you want to give the right gifts, you need to listen to what the other person says. The third love language is acts of service. Doing something for the other person that we know that would like for you to do. Like in 1 John chapter 3, verse 18 says, love not in words only, but in deed. In terms of marriage, we are talking about cooking a meal, washing dishes, doing laundry, and so on. Anything that you know the other person would like for you to do. Acts of service are powerful. That's true for lots of people, even though not for all people. The fourth love language is quality time, by which I mean you give the person your undivided attention. That's not watching TV together, not talking about sitting together, TV off, and talking and interacting with each other, or taking a walk together, just the two of you, or going out to eat and looking and talking with each other. Quality time is giving a part of your life away to the other person. At this point, before we move to the fifth love language, I want to tell you a picture of two married couple that's been married for a while, and they go to a restaurant and they sit and eat together. You watch them very interested in the food they're eating. They're not even talking or paying attention to each other. And an engaged couple or just a pre-engaged couple sitting, eating, and they seem like they're only or mainly interested in each other, looking at each other all the time and talking with each other. And the food is something complementary for their getting together. We need to think of what we do when we go out with our life partner. Do we enjoy the talking with each other, or do we just focus on the meal? Number 5 love language is physical touch. This is one of the fundamental things in love. I'm talking about hugging, kissing, putting your hands around her shoulder, holding hands, also the whole sex or sexual part of marriage. Out of those love languages, each of us has a primary love language. We could receive love in all 5 languages, but if we have to choose one that we would not let go, we would choose a particular one. At this time, we'll take a short break and we'll come back shortly. Welcome back to our 4th session in marriage coaching. It is like speaking a language that each one of us grew up with, and that is the one you understand best. Same thing is true with love. We could have a secondary love language, and maybe the rest of them would fall in line after that. In a marriage, almost never do husband and wife have the same love language. By nature, we tend to speak our own language, but if it is not the primary love language for the other person, it will not mean to them what it means to us. Thousands of marriages love each other, but they are missing each other because they speak different languages. Both are sincere, but they don't understand each other's love language. That is why it is so important that when we come down from this emotional high of falling in love, we have to learn how to speak each other's love language to build the state of love that will give us the successful marriage. All the love languages can be learned, and once we discover the other person's love language, we have the responsibility and the challenge of learning the other person's love language. I believe that thousands of marriages can find rebirth of their love life if they learn to speak each other's love language. Now, frequently in a marriage relationship, we have ups and downs, and we have good days and bad days. I want to talk with you now about how a person or a couple could lose in love or could have disaffection and how to deal with it. Anytime you take two different people and you put them together, especially in marriage, they are very different in the way they approach life in many different ways, and it could be very tough. I guarantee to you that all marriages will go through times of disaffection, times when you don't feel close, when you feel like that's not what you dreamed of. Let me ask this question. What do you think could come between a couple that may cause disaffection? Some might say money. Some of you might say having to move away and have to live far away from the family. Some might say having to go to school or work demands. Some might say my dad does not like him or my mom does not like her. Those things might work against a relationship. Here is a list of everyday pressures that tear off at love. Stress, satanic assaults, scripts from our past, supposed to be's, sins. If we go over just those points that I mentioned, you will find even through the Bible that all that God is for, Satan is against. Look from the beginning between Adam and Eve, and God was for blessing this relationship, while Satan was for getting Adam, blaming Eve for getting him that stupid apple. Also, little foxes from the past that could affect your present relationship. Those factors are so important and no one to blame for it, but you are responsible not to drag those things into your relationship. Now let's go a little deeper. Those things that I just mentioned are not what tears off love. Let's understand together the cycle of disaffection. I say, if I don't feel safe, secure, or significant in my relationship, I will begin to distance myself from my partner. This starts the negative communication patterns. The cycle of criticism, defensiveness, and building a wall between you and your partner would begin. It's a very tough place to be. The reality is, when your partner gets to this point, they are not trying to hurt the other person. They are actually trying to get the other person to love them. It is painful to be in a relationship and to go unrecognized and unloved in it. The cycle of disaffection leads to increasing the distance and further building the wall in the relationship. The problem starts to be blaming each other, and everybody is screaming but nobody could hear. What we need to do is just step back, not to step out. Step back and find out how, in the name of love, we lost the love in our relationship. The healing journey already started. If you look at Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. We are affirming this today as an ounce of prevention that is worth a pound of cure. I myself and my wife, we had a lot of nights that was not fun. I wish if I learned all this before I got married. Now we are at the point of breaking free. It is both awareness and also bringing forth an element of safety. In my mind, marriage is a spiritual task. It is something that is God's and He wants to bless it. He calls us to this relationship to be faithful and to do just simply one thing. It is to allow His love to work through us to the other person. God will bless you if you will be faithful in seeing that you are called to love. Now watch what happens if you want to build safety in this relationship. There are a few things that you need to commit yourself to. Number one, stop saying things that you don't mean and be quiet when needed. Number two, encourage soft love and start doing random acts of kindness. Number three, increase positive communication and start doing good things together. Small success breeds bigger successes. Number four, accept responsibility and don't wait for the other person to change. You cannot change him or her. The only person you can change is yourself. And only you can do that in Christ. And by the way, take the first step. Let me close this session with a section on forgiveness and grace. Healthy marriage takes a lot of oil of forgiveness and a lot of grace towards each other. There will be times in your relationship when you will need a lot of forgiveness. This is an act in progress that needs to continue through the whole marriage. If you want to be forgiven, you have to forgive. This concludes our fourth session. Till we talk again, may God bless you all.